What is this? What is this? Where's all my taxes? That's as good as taxes, sir. Those are IOUs. Oh, I'm gonna pay you one day. I'll see you in 40 years. What if you could have a tax break now, get a little extra money from the IRS, and invest and not have to pay taxes on that money for decades? You might think this is clickbait, but it's not. Stick around because at the end of this video, you're gonna know exactly how, and it's not even hard. Are you ready to make Uncle Sam sweat a little? All right, let's do this. Hey everyone, this is AJ, your ace in the hole, and welcome to the channel where we simplify personal finance and provide tips for young adults and others just starting out. So, to kick things off, you're probably wondering, where is this all headed? Well, in today's video, I'm going to break down the details of one of the cooler savings options out there, especially for young adults. We'll discuss what it is, how it works, and the good and the bad. So, without further ado, let me introduce the Traditional IRA. The Traditional IRA, or Individual Retirement Account, was created in 1974 as part of the Employee Retirement Income Security Act, signed by President Gerald Ford. It was originally created to encourage individual saving for retirement and was intended for workers without employee-sponsored retirement plans, allowing individuals to contribute and deduct those contributions from their taxable income. In 1981, President Ronald Reagan signed the Economic Recovery Tax Act, which expanded eligibility to all workers, not just those without a workplace plan, creating a boom in IRA contributions during the 1980s. To summarize, a traditional IRA is a tax-advantaged way to save for retirement. You contribute using tax-deductible dollars, and it grows tax-deferred, meaning you don't pay taxes on the contributions or the earnings until you finally withdraw from the account in retirement. Let's look at a simple example of how tax-deferred growth works in practice. Let's assume an annual income of $75,000, which means an individual marginal tax rate of 22%. Now, let's assume you contribute $7,000 each year to a traditional IRA, the current IRA limit, from ages 20 to 50. To normalize this comparison, we'll invest the equivalent of $7,000 after tax, or $5,460, into a regular taxable brokerage account. Another way to think of this is that the government is lending you the tax-deductible portion, in this example, the $1,540 difference, to invest every year for the 30-year period. Assuming a similar income tax rate, to keep this simple, the withdrawal of the traditional IRA would be fully taxed, both contributions and earnings, at ordinary income rates, in this example, 22%. While the taxable brokerage account would only have the earnings tax at the capital gains rate of 15%. The traditional IRA earned over $336,000 more before taxes, and despite paying a higher tax rate on the full amount, is still up $200,000 in total account value after tax, which includes the $46,000 accumulated annual tax-deductible savings. Now, there are numerous advanced tax withdrawal strategies that could move these numbers either up or down. There are also additional factors such as increased income later in life, changes in marital status, and more, but those are far beyond the scope of this video. However, using a very basic comparison, this illustrates one example of how this might play out, showing the power of tax-deferred savings in action. Now, let's move on to the contribution guidelines. Like most retirement accounts, there are annual contribution limits. In 2025, you can contribute up to $7,000, and if over age 50, you're allowed an extra $1,000 catch-up contribution, so an $8,000 limit. You can contribute to an IRA at any age, but you must have earned income, such as a full or part-time job, and if your income for the year is less than the IRA limit, then your earned income total would be your personal IRA contribution limit for that year. Traditional IRAs do have income limitations when considering how much of your contributions are tax deductible. These are broken into two scenarios. First, if you're also covered by another retirement plan at work, such as a 401k, there are some limitations where you might only receive a partial deduction. Here's an example of those 2025 limitations. As you can see, using our earlier example, as an individual, you would still qualify for 100% tax deduction given an income of $75,000. Now, if you fall into the highest income tier, you can still contribute, it just wouldn't be tax deductible. The other scenario is if you're not covered by another retirement plan at work, which as you can see here, has no limitations. Now, on to setting up your IRA. You start off by opening a traditional IRA through a brokerage firm, such as Fidelity, Vanguard, or Schwab. This is done online, just like setting up a basic checking account. You fund the account with earned income from a full or part-time job, which can be done very easily through online transfers. You then select investments for your money. While uninvested money will grow moderately, you should always purchase investments for a higher rate of return, earning tax deferred over many years. Next, let's talk about those investing options. A traditional IRA acts as a basket that holds your cash contributions and any selected investments. Numerous types of investments are available, such as mutual or index funds like the S&P 500, ETFs or exchange-traded funds, which are like groups of stocks, individual company stocks such as Meta or Coca-Cola, REITs, which are real estate investment trusts, and even bonds, treasuries, and CDs. In future videos, we'll dive deeper into investment options to help you choose, so be sure to subscribe to the channel. But if you're new, an S&P 500 index fund is a solid choice to get things started. But you should always do research and seek financial advice before choosing investments. Parents can help out even sooner by opening a custodial IRA for their minor children under 18. These accounts are open on their behalf at any age as long as they have earned income, which can come from things such as mowing lawns, washing cars, babysitting, or other side jobs. Just remember, contributions are limited to their earned income for that year, if less than the IRA limits. Once the child reaches 18, the account can be rolled into a regular IRA where they can assume control as a young adult. Now, a quick tip, a custodial Roth IRA might be a better option than a traditional IRA. Check out our previous video on Roth IRAs here, as they would likely be more advantageous for a minor just starting out. At least check it out. Now, let's touch on withdrawals. To withdraw your earnings penalty-free, you have to be at least age 59 and a half. And as we mentioned earlier, both contributions and earnings are taxed at ordinary income rates, which is determined based on your personal tax status at the time of withdrawal. Early withdrawals prior to age 59 and a half will also trigger an additional 10% penalty on the amount. There are a few exceptions, such as a first-time home purchase, higher education expenses, the birth of a child, and others. But you should always have separate savings in place for these planned expenses, as there are other types of accounts better suited for these expenses, as opposed to depleting your IRA, which is steadily growing tax-deferred. Another very important consideration with a traditional IRA is related to RMDs, or required minimum distributions. These are mandatory minimum amounts that must be withdrawn each year, whether you need it or not, including the taxes. These begin at age 73, although as a part of the Secure Act 2.0 passed in 2022, this age was moved back to age 75 starting in 2033. In short, this annual requirement is based on your IRA account balance at the end of the prior year divided by a life expectancy factor provided by the IRS. This formula determines how much you must withdraw each year from your IRA and includes the taxes on those withdrawals. This is basically the government's way of finally getting back the taxes on the money they've loaned you all of these years. Now, if you're withdrawing from your IRA each year for living expenses and the amount is already greater than your RMD amount, you don't have to withdraw additional funds, as you would have already met the requirements. Now, failing to withdraw RMDs for any reason can result in an extensive penalty on top of the taxes, up to 25% of the amount. So don't forget, the penalty can be reduced if you correct the mistake in a timely manner and you complete IRS Form 5329 with the reasonable explanation, if approved by the IRS, of course. Another important call out is that RMDs are not just limited to your traditional IRA. If you have other retirement accounts, such as a 401k or 403b, RMDs also apply to those accounts as well. Now let's summarize with some pros and cons. First is the tax-deductible contributions. This reduces your taxable income and lowers your overall tax bill each year you contribute. Next, and probably the best part, is the tax-deferred compounding growth, paying zero taxes until the time you withdraw, including no capital gains or dividend taxes along the way. Then there's the wide array of investment options, accommodating any investment style or risk tolerance. And finally, withdrawals might even be taxed at a lower rate if you're in a lower tax bracket later in life, for example, when just entering retirement. Now, there are some cons associated with a traditional IRA. First, you will eventually pay taxes on all withdrawals, contributions, and earnings. Given they are taxed at ordinary income tax rates, taxes could be higher if you're in a higher tax bracket when you start withdrawing. This is a common problem for those who do not proactively plan their retirement withdrawals. Next, traditional IRAs are subject to early withdrawal penalties, but this is pretty common with most retirement accounts. Finally, RMDs. Many times RMDs in conjunction with Social Security income can force a higher income tax bracket unexpectedly, creating much higher income tax rates later in retirement. So these must be planned carefully. This is sometimes referred to as the tax torpedo. There are advanced strategies to mitigate this, which we'll discuss in future videos. So be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss those. Also, if you found this video helpful, please give it a like and check out our video here that expands on how these accounts can compound over time, and I really hope this has been helpful. It's our goal to help educate others with the info they need to build their own financial success. And I hope to see you in the next one. This is AJ, your ace in the hole. See ya.